Hi there, it's Laura here from Get Organized HQ, and I want to talk about a subtle reason why your best laid plans and your well-researched planning systems haven't worked for you in the past. And this is something that I think a lot of people overlook, but it makes a huge difference. And it's actually not something I have talked about here on the channel before. So you're gonna wanna listen up. Now, I'm gonna assume that you already know what our signature 3-bucket system of planning is. If not, I'm gonna link to that video down below. You can go watch it. It's a quick, easy watch. This system is really the foundation of our planning, and it is a total game changer. But we're not gonna stop there. So once you're using this 3-bucket system, you've got back some control of your days, you're getting some things done, you don't feel like your days are completely controlling you anymore. What's the next step in really getting things done and letting your long-term planning systems work? So a lot of times we plan in all sorts of different ways, but a typical way of planning, you might start at the beginning of the year and map out, I want to do all these things. You're going to list all the things that you want to do. Maybe they're big things. Maybe you even break them down. Like, I want to have a garage sale. And so that involves, picking a date, putting it out in the newspaper. Do people do that anymore? Putting it on wherever you put it. Pricing items, gathering, all those steps. Maybe you break it down. So you have these lists of things to do. Maybe you do that for a year. Maybe you set aside, before the quarter begins, you map out your quarter. You do this both personally, and if you have you run your own business or if you have work, you probably do this in work as well. You have a lot of tasks to do. Maybe you do it for the month. Maybe you plan out your week. You're like, this is how this week is going to look. Maybe time block it. Maybe you don't. Or maybe you do it for your day. And then, why doesn't that work? The thing is, I could sit here and I could plan out whatever length of time, the rest of my day, the rest of my week, month, year, whatever. And it could be a great plan. I mean, it could even be feasible. I could even do it in a way that I think this is a reasonable amount of stuff to get done instead of my usual way that I want to do it, where I plan to do 30 hours of stuff in 20 hours or something. That obviously doesn't work. So if you created the perfect plan, why doesn't it work? Okay, so the obvious answer to that question is you have to actually do it, right? It's not going to do itself. So the best laid plan on the face of this earth isn't going to help you if you don't actually execute it. And wait, before you turn the video off, I'm not stopping there. That's obvious, but there isn't a magic, I can't give you a magic pill. I can't give myself a magic pill. I don't have a magic formula for okay, you write it down and you gotta be more disciplined. You gotta try harder. I mean, I could say that. It doesn't really help. I mean, if you tried before, just trying harder or being more disciplined, that doesn't really help. And here is the thing. When it comes to planning what you want to do and, those long lists of tasks, all things you want to do, I think most people, and if you feel like you're different, let me know in the comments down below, they rarely get everything done that they have planned. If there's a list of things that you might want to do today, and in our 3-bucket system, that's your wish list, very few people are going to get all those done on a consistent basis. You're just not. It could be for 1,000 reasons. Maybe you were too ambitious in your planning. That is me, very often. Maybe interruptions happened. Maybe things took longer. All sorts of things. You're not going to get them all done. Okay, so this is the critical component. When you don't get it all done, and you won't, there is no judgment. This is not a place for shame. The critical piece is you have to follow up. At the end of that planning period, you have to open up, your planner, if you're using a physical planner, or your app, or whatever it is you're using. You have to literally open it up, look at it, and see, these are the items I didn't get done. Here is where I'm moving them to, whether you're moving them to a different day in your planner, whether you're putting them back on a master list. You have to follow up and you have to close the loop, even if the loop is I didn't get these things done that I had hoped to or wanted to or even felt like I should do. And that sounds radically simple. Of course I can do that. I can close the loop. I can come back and check in with myself. It's way harder than you think. And the reason that this is so hard is because we don't want to face the fact that we didn't get as much done as we wish we had. Like, we don't want to come back and look at those lists of undone tasks. And so the critical piece is to remove the judgment and to tell yourself the truth, which is, this is normal. Very few of us get all of our to-dos, and most of the time we're putting, our list of things that we'd like to get done is not totally realistic. So this is not a time for judgment or feeling bad. It's a time for just closing the loop. And the other thing that happens to me, for example, I'm very structured, in all my work tasks, and I have a computer program I use where it I map them out for the weekend. So I'll have easily 15 things on there that I want to get done. Now that is not, in my bucket on my 3-bucket system of things I have to get done. Maybe 1 or 2 of them are, but this is a list of all the things that I'd really like to accomplish in this day. And some of them might be things that take 5 to 10 minutes, like check in with so-and-so on this project, or, make this phone call or something. And some of them might be longer, like write an entire blog post or film a video like this one. So I'll have this list, and I do a pretty good job. I don't know if you do, if you don't do this, of breaking it down. It's not so, the tasks aren't so big that you can't actually accomplish them. So they're broken down, and inevitably I don't get them all done because, again, I was hoping to do more than can actually be done in the time that I've allotted. And I get to the end of my workday and I'm ready to close out the day. So it's time to take all those tasks that I didn't do, and it's time to move them over to the next day, move them back to the master list. It's time to close the loop. Here's what I do. But I still really wanted to do that one and that one. So I move a couple over the next day. I'm I can probably get these done, or maybe I can get them done on Friday, or I'm they're not that important. I'll just move them back to the master list. And then I'm but you know what? I bet I could squeeze in this one and this one later tonight. Maybe after kids go to bed. Okay. The problem with that is I told myself I wanted to not work after the kids went to bed. I want to have a little bit of downtime. I want to have a time to reconnect with my husband. I want to work on other projects. I don't want to do that. But the me in that moment, that when I'm staring at those things that I didn't get done, that I really wanted to get done, that's all that me cares about. Is finding, just imagining that I'm going to magically get it done. I don't know if anyone else is like this. Let me know in the comments if you are. I'm just not being kind or realistic to future me. Even if future me is the future in 1 hour. I'm not even saying 1 year future me. So we've got to come close the loop in a way that is kind and is congruent with what you actually want. So if you said you wanted better work-life balance, but yet you schedule yourself to work from 9 p.m. to midnight every night after working a full workday, that's not in line with what you told yourself you would do. And, for you, it might be something totally different. Maybe you said, this year I want to focus on my health. I want to make time to work out and cook healthier meals. And so you steal some of that time. You're well, I could actually do takeout tonight so I can get some of these extra to-dos done, and I can skip my workout. Well, that would be another example of not being congruent with what you said. So facing the fact that you're not going to get those done, you have to move them and make a plan. But if instead you bury your head in the sand, which I am super guilty of, and I know, I don't think I'm alone in that, and I don't close the loop because I don't want to face the fact that I didn't get stuff done, that's when the whole system just completely falls apart. And it doesn't take very long for it to fall apart if that's what you're doing. So, I don't look at it on Monday, and then I don't look at it on Tuesday, and then I finally look at it on Wednesday, but I put 8 million things. Now I just move them all to Thursday. I can do 8 million things on Thursday. I really can't. And then Thursday, I'm just completely overwhelmed. There's no way I'm closing that loop. And they just sit there, and then it doesn't relieve the mental burden because now there's just this huge list, stuff I can never get done, and I don't know when it's happening, so it didn't relieve the mental burden. And planning is not so much about getting more done. If it helps you get more done, great. It's about taking that mental burden. So now I don't feel like I have to carry around all those things that I need to be doing. They're somewhere safely. And even if I did not get them done, I know there's somewhere where I can come back to them. I'm not going to forget. I'm going to consciously know what I did and didn't get done and when I'm going to be able to accomplish it. So coming back and closing that loop is so vitally important, that you do it with kindness to your future self, that you do it with being realistically, and that you create whatever kind of master list system that you want, where things aren't just gonna like, get assigned to a day and then hang out there and never get done, and you're not even gonna remember what it is. You're gonna have a way to like add them back to the master list or move it to a day in the future. And exactly how you do this kind of depends on like you. Are you a digital person? Are you a paper person? What kind of things are you managing? Are you just doing like one repetitive thing every day? Are you doing a whole bunch of things? If you guys want me to go more in depth on that and kind of how I manage my to-dos, I am more than happy to talk about that. Let me know in the comments and I'll create more videos surrounding that. But I just want the message for today to be, you have to close that loop. You have to come back at the end of the day or the beginning of the next day, look at everything that was on your to-do list and make a plan for what didn't happen. It can either be crossed out and you can say, I don't really think I need to do that. It's not that important. That happens to me a lot, where I thought I wanted to do something and then I realized, yeah, it's not that important. Like I wanted to make fancy cookies to take to a gathering. And I realized absolutely no one cares if I bring fancy cookies or if I go buy sugar cookies from Target, that kind of thing. Or you could say, I'm just moving this to tomorrow or another date in the future. Or you can say, I'm pushing this back to my master to-do list, something I know I want to get done, but I don't know when that's happening. So those are kind of your options. So close out that loop, and I will tell you that the mental burden that will relieve from you, because it's all either written down or it's in your whatever digital tool you're using, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. And if overwhelm is a big problem for you, then I would love for you to watch my video about how to effectively brain dump and how to deal with that. I will link that down below for you. That's another way to help relieve the mental burden.